Making bread has a parallel to making wine because you're dealing with fundamentally simple ingredients and going through the fermentation process. So I'm making a grape focaccia. You don't need high-tech equipment, but you do need to start with yeast. 2.5 teaspoons worth. There's sugar present within wine, some more than others, and it's all about that fermentation, the combination of sugar within the juice, the yeast producing the alcohol and CO2, and about a tablespoon of honey. First, I'm going to start with some all-purpose flour for the sponge, and I'll add a cup right now, and then I'll add some more flour later on. A cup of room temperature water. So this is my starter. And I'm not worrying about sifting or a few lumps. You can see there are a few lumps in there. That is quite okay. So now I need to just leave it be for about 40 minutes to let the flavor develop. What a difference 40 minutes makes. It is just alive. Okay, now to get on to actually making the dough. So I do a blend of all-purpose flour and pastry flour to equal a total of 3 cups, 50-50. I'll add 3/4 teaspoon of salt. Now, a 1/4 cup of olive oil. Key to a focaccia recipe to help keep it pliable and add a bit of richness. Once it sort of shapes itself into a ball, then I can turn it out onto a work surface to knead. And the idea is, as the yeast still feeds on the wine and the honey and the flour, it's going to grow, it'll produce the alcohol and CO2 within it, it'll double in size, and it's the actual elastic of the flour that holds in the CO2. That's what makes bread rise. You can feel it all of a sudden resist a little bit when you push it around. So now it's time to stop pushing it around and let it rest again. Little drizzle of olive oil, just so it doesn't stick. And now, once again, I have to let it take a little nap. This is the season where local table grapes are available, and there's 2 key styles. There's Sovereign Coronation and there's Concord. The difference is Sovereign Coronation don't have seeds. Look at that. That is amazing. Doubled in size, and when you unwrap it, it does let out all the gases, and you can just smell that richness in there and half. And it will deflate when you turn it out, and it's supposed to. That's okay. The yeast still has lots to feed on. Cut it in half. And I've got a 9x13 pan that's been lightly greased. And now I lift it, and even though it's a thin layer, it will kind of spring back. And I press it into the pan. To keep it on the sweeter side, a sprinkling of turbinado sugar, which is a coarse-grained, dry brown sugar. And I'll put about half the grapes on top. So these will cook into the bread, stain it, turn all juicy. So now I'll roll the other half. And kind of press down here, get the dough around the grapes. Another sprinkle of sugar. The grapes actually work to control the rising of the dough because by pressing them on top, it actually weighs down the bread a little bit so you don't end up with big giant gaping holes in your bread. Cover this with a tea towel so that way the air gets at it a little bit. One more nap, 30 minutes, and in the meantime I'll preheat the oven to 400 degrees to get this ready to bake. So it's almost doubled in size again, and this is ready to go in the oven. I'll let this bake for 40 minutes at 400. It'll turn a rich golden brown. To me, there's almost nothing better than the smell of bread baking in the oven, except for the smell of pumpkin dressing and roasted chicken.